You guys are pushing electric vehicles today. This is a president who always talks about the power of our example. Does he own an electric vehicle?
Presidents of the United States don't do a lot of driving.
He's posted videos where he's revving the engine of his Corvette in Wilmington. He owns cars.
And he also has driven electric vehicles as president, as to give a model to the rest of the country.
Does he own one?
I think the president's record on this is clear, Peter. Presidents of the United States, current and when they are no longer, typically are not doing a lot of driving. Go ahead.
And we just heard you say again that you think inflation is going to be temporary. We've heard you say that it was going to be temporary since last spring. So how long do you guys think temporary is?
Well, again, Peter, I think what we do is we rely on the assessments of the Federal Reserve and of outside economic analysts who give an assessment of how long it will last. The expectations and their assessment at this point continues to be that it will moderate by the end of the year.
I don't want to make a prediction exactly as to what's going to happen in the second half of the year. You know, we're likely to see another year in which 12-month inflation numbers remain very uncomfortably high.
You said this is temporary. You know, you've noted before that inflation is going to wane or is expected to wane by the end of the year. Is that still your belief?
That continues to be the projection of the Federal Reserve, of outside economists, and we really rely on them for their projections. But there is also no question that inflation may be higher for the next few months than it would have been.
President Biden has hosted electric vehicle stakeholders here at the White House. Would he host oil and gas producers, the people who are the most affected by the Putin price hike?
Well, the oil and gas, I have nothing to preview or predict for you in terms of him hosting oil company executives.
Is he open to that?
I don't have anything planned on the schedule for that front, but I will tell you that the president has been clear that he believes they have the tools they need, 9,000 unused permits. They have the capacity they need to go get more oil here in the United States, and he'd encourage them to do that.
That accusation is a complete red herring, and it's really a distraction from the fact that this administration has paused leasing on federal lands.
This represents a fundamental misunderstanding as to how this process works. So the White House certainly doesn't have their facts straight on this.
Yeah, it's not truthful, right? And it's not truthful at all. She knows that, right? It's delaying leases. Look, you can get a lease and then they delay the permits.
The inflation numbers that we received today show consumers paying almost 8% more than a year ago. And this was before Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So how much higher does the administration expect prices to climb?
Well, as you know, a large driver of these inflationary numbers from the last, these monthly numbers, were from energy prices, and we have seen the increase, happen over year. And there were year-over-year numbers that came out about a month ago as well. There are still predictions and projections from the Federal Reserve and outside economists about inflation moderating towards the end of the year. We do anticipate that gas prices and energy prices will go up. That is something that the president has conveyed very clearly to the American public. We also believe it will be temporary and not long-lasting. And what our focus is on now is doing everything we can to mitigate and reduce those prices and ensure there isn't a longer-term impact. So I can't make new projections for you from here other than to convey that, yes, it is accurate that
inflation goes up today. The president's statement blames the Putin price hike. Are you guys just going to start blaming Putin for everything until the midterms?
Well, we've seen the price of gas go up at least 75 cents since President Putin lined up troops on the border.
Last month, the statement didn't mention the Putin price hike. It mentioned inflation because of the pandemic. Why is that?
Well, Peter, last 2 years, there was a global pandemic. Obviously, global events impact the global economy, as well as global inflation. And the price hikes, as a result, that have escalated over the course of time. If you compare month to month, we've seen inflationary pressure or inflationary numbers go down month to month, even as we looked at the year-to-year numbers go up, which we entirely predicted.
So anybody who's looking at the month-over-month and the year-over-year making comments that, well, the rate of change is slowing down, these numbers are coming down, not accurate. Now,
I know that you're going to say that Republicans on the Banking Committee should just get back to work and allow the entire slate to go forward, but the president also said during the State of the Union that these nominees were crucial to the fight against inflation, and we saw today, obviously, that's still a pressing concern. So I was wondering if you could walk me through why you wouldn't take what Senator Manchin called a win, get 4 of your 5 nominees? Is it because Sarah Bloom Raskin herself is crucial to this fight in inflation? Is it that you're worried about a slippery slope in the Senate? Like, why not take the 4 out of 5?
I know you give a little bit of a preview of what I might say there, but one, we don't have any change in our approach or policy here. The committee should hold an up or down vote on all 5 nominees.
Why is that core issue more important than the broader fight against inflation for you guys? What is the philosophical thing that you guys are saying it's more important than getting 4 Fed nominees on the board in a time of heightened inflation?
We believe all 5 nominees are eminently qualified and should be given an opportunity to be voted through the committee, where we absolutely have the votes. Republicans are just not showing up to get quorum for that vote to move.
Fact is, the Fed is fully functional. The FOMC has 9 of its 12 members in place. They could raise rates today if they wanted to. They could do it tomorrow. They could do it at any time. But what's really ironic is that it's the chairman's decision not to move 5 nominees forward. We made it clear, I made it clear last week to the chairman, repeatedly, publicly, and privately, we are perfectly happy to vote on 5 of the 6 nominees. That would be 4 Fed governors and the director of the FHFA. If we did, actually most of them would get considerable Republican support. They'd move on. And if there were a concern about vacancies on the Fed, then the chairman could fix that very quickly. He chooses not to. He prefers to have the vacancies. That's his choice.
You know, you've been getting questions about inflation for months.
Sure.
And you talked about a lot of work the White House is doing, but it's largely been long-term strategy. For the Americans that woke up with another round of headlines about inflation this morning, is there something you want to point to that's what the White House is doing to provide short-term relief, like immediate relief to the rising costs?
I would say that a huge part of what we've done has had an impact already. If you look at shelves at stores right now, 89% of them are stocked. That is a direct result of the actions of the supply chain task force and this president. That right now what we're looking at are different pressures, right? Which is the pressure of the energy sector that is a direct result of President Putin. I would say that there are a range of steps that have already had an enormous impact across the board on addressing inflationary pressures, but we also are dealing now with a new challenge that is why we're seeing the inflationary pressures go up. Go ahead.